Broken Mind Pod, your host, Bluker. So what's up? I'm Bluke, and we're gonna talk about Area 51, alien activity, what's going on there, the big craze that's happening, right now. So let's speak about the phenom that sparked over 2 million plus people that want to be a part of it. And not to mention a beer company by the name of Bud Light. That's big. That's huge. I mean, they did post a tweet stating that they would not be backing the Area 51 raid, but they also posted a tweet saying they would offer any alien that made it out of Area 51 free beer. So I mean that's a bold move by one of the biggest names in the alcoholic beverage industry. Okay, but although they didn't say that they would sponsor the Area 51 raid for obvious reasons, they did, however, make a custom Bud Light beer can special edition. If their logo that they created, I might post it. I might post the picture. Maybe. But if they get 51,000 retweets, they would come out with this special edition a beer can. You can see all this on their Twitter page. It's at Bud Light. So, I mean, is this Area 51 raid legit? Will it happen? Some think yes, others are just having fun. But let's be completely honest. How many crazy motherfuckers are there? You know what I mean? It's a massive group of over 2 million that are taking this dead serious. There's some in there that are like, I'm going to Area 51. And then there's some that obviously this is a joke. This is funny. We all know the Air Force, they ain't just gonna sit back. They're definitely taking it serious. Matter of fact, they made a statement stating, "We can stop all of you now." Obviously, this is a very highly dangerous thing to do on both parts. Military and, the the general population, the citizens. It's dangerous on both sides. One, obviously, if we as citizens raid a military base, it's not good. It's something's gonna happen. There's somebody gonna fucking spark martial law, and a lot of people are probably gonna get really hurt. Then on the other hand, if our military, being the Air Force or government in general, decides they will take action against this alleged Area 51 raid, how's that gonna look? You know what I mean? So it's a lose-lose for everybody. But it's weird because as a taxpayer, why can't we go into these military bases? Surely we help fund these bases. And I mean, set aside the obvious. Well, you'll get hurt if you go out there. They're dropping bombs. And set that aside for a minute. Why can't we go in there? Let's see some pictures. I mean, yeah, there's highly classified stuff. I get all that shit, I get it. It is what it is. But it brings you back a bit to a man named BOB LAZAR. He was a physicist and worked on a project called Galileo. It was a classified project by the government. The project, it focused on reverse engineering of alien tech. Now, according to Lazar, he's seen 9 different alien crafts between 1988 and 1989. He was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. And according to Joe, I mean, he doesn't sense no bullshit. Joe Rogan. And I've done some research, not a whole ton, but I've done some, and this guy's story has stayed consistent, and it's kind of scary. You know what I mean? Not, I mean, scary in a sense that if it's legit and this guy is 100% telling the truth. I mean, this man's been shot, like death threats, just some sketchy shits happened to this man and his family over this. So it makes you wonder. And it is scary. And I was also reading an article that the people that live next to Area 51, the little businesses and stuff, they're preparing for this raid, you know. They're getting their shops ready. They're ready to charge people for camping, and you know they're kind of embracing it. Which, why wouldn't they? I mean, they'd make a ton of money. They'd make a whole bunch of money. Which who doesn't like that, right? But I was also reading that there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of them roads from people that work at the base itself. And it might cause somewhat of a jam. It's going to be very, very hard if even 200 people show up. You know what I mean? Let alone 2 million. You know, I highly doubt 2 million people will be raiding Area 51. Don't see it happening. Anything's possible. I wouldn't do it. I would have no part in it. But that doesn't mean, like I said before, there isn't 500,000 out of those 2 million that are completely fucking dead set on going to this place. You know? Like, I mean, some of them are probably UFO enthusiasts. You know, they're really looking deep and like, oh, I'm telling you, there's guaranteed aliens out there. Maybe there is. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But recently, just lately, there's been a lot of UFO activity. There's been a lot of talk about it within the government, you know, and releasing documents and how we've been tracking UFOs for the past X amount of years. And that's crazy because a lot of money is going into researching UFOs, whether they actually be from an out of this world or other military crafts that we are researching. But either way, it's insane. It's crazy. See, I'm from upstate New York. You know, I'm nowhere near the city. I'm kind of up in the sticks. And we see some crazy shit every now and then, you know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of aircrafts that are flying around. There ain't too many military bases where I'm from, if any. I mean, where I'm at. But I've seen some strange lights in the sky. 100% seen some strange lights in the sky. And it's hard to explain. It is truly hard to explain. I got one story. Me and my mother, we were riding in the car. This is quite a few years ago, and we were headed home, and we were driving up the main drag, kind of the highway, and again, where I'm from, there's a lot of woods, there's rivers. It's a beautiful place, but I happen to look off to my right, and I see these lights going up the river. And I'm like, what the hell is that? You know, and I'm like, Mom, you need to look at this. What the fuck is this? You know? And she looks over and she's like, what the heck? You know, and it was cruising. So the first thing that popped into my mind was, it's got to be explainable, right? So she says, well, I bet you it's a helicopter. So I was like, you know what? You're probably right, but boy, they're flying really, really low to the river. And when I say low, I mean below the tree line. You know, and I just don't see a helicopter doing that kind of evasive maneuvers within the town limits, because we weren't very far from, a town. And I would think that would be a major, major hazard. So I went home and I started looking up. Were there any, helicopter training going on, anything like that? And there was none. Unfortunately, there wasn't like a whole bunch of people on social media being like, where I'm from, did you guys see them lights? That didn't happen. But there was cars, so I know somebody's seen it. But that's where I'm from. You keep that sort of thing to yourself. It's just more or less like everybody around the world. It's when you say I see an alien, you're a kook, But is it like that anymore? Things are changing, and they're changing rapidly. If it does happen to come out that there are aliens, and let me clear that up. I'm going to take that back. You have to be an arrogant, really naive person to believe that there isn't life out there. You really got to be fucking stupid. And I say that for a lack of a better term, because I don't think there is one. And a lot of people, I believe what I see. I've never seen $1 million, but I know it exists. You know what I mean? And if it was to come out that we have been shaking hands with aliens and we've been working with them, it would be amazing. Our lives would change so much because all of this technology would finally be able to be public. And we would know, and our lives would change. I would say within the next 15 to 20 years, it's gonna be crazy. Oh, by crazy, could you imagine within that amount of time if aliens were walking around actively? Spaceships were flying around actively. The flying car thing come to fruition. Could you just imagine? It'd be incredible. Oh my God. I think it'd be amazing. And it's possible. Very possible. But, who knows? With this Area 51 raid, maybe this'll push, for them to release some things and maybe speak the truth if they haven't already. That's assuming they're keeping secrets. But what's interesting about everything being classified, so back in 1994, so there was 5 unnamed civilian contractors that one of their names was Walter Casta. I don't know if I'm saying it right, and Robert Frost. They sued the Air Force and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. They alleged that they had been present when large quantities of unknown chemicals had been burned in open pits and trenches at Groom, which is on the Area 51 base, I'm assuming. Now, I guess biochemists analyzed biopsies from the complainants and found high levels of dioxin, dibenzofuran, and I ain't even gonna try to pronounce this next one. Anyway, there was chemicals in their body fat. The complainants, they alleged that they had sustained skin, liver, and respiratory injuries due to their work at Groom, and that this has contributed to the deaths of Frost and Kaza. So, they tried suing the government and the Air Force, and eventually it did go to court. And Bill was actually president at the time, and they tried to say that they couldn't release all this information on these chemicals because it was classified. And he passed some bill, basically, if it's environmental hazards or something, then it has to be released, because the judge at the time was like, "Nah, listen, you're gonna tell us what the fuck is going on here." But the case actually ended up being dismissed. Not enough evidence to prove that these two people died from those chemicals, which is scary, especially if it did happen. But it seems classified protects a lot of things, and it's unfortunate because everything's classified. I mean, you think back, Kennedy assassination, there was so much classified stuff. All these things so classified. It's unfortunate. Truly unfortunate. So, I mean, with this raid taking place, what are these people up against? The ones that are going to raid Area 51. Well, so, I'm reading an article right now on basically how it is secured. So the perimeter of the base is marked out by orange posts and patrolled by guards in white pickup trucks and camouflage fatigues. The guards are popularly referred to as camo dudes by the enthusiasts. This is what the article says. The guards will not answer questions about their employers. However, according to the New York Daily News, there are indications they are employed through a contractor such as AECOM. Around the base perimeter advises that deadly force is authorized against trespassers. Yeah, deadly force, meaning you pass this line, they have the right to fucking kill you. Period. And I don't know if that is that right. I mean, obviously, they don't know who you are, what your intentions are, and there's a lot of stuff in there that could probably potentially hurt not only the people going in, but the world. I mean, if there really is some fucked up shit happening there, the last thing we need is some half-pot fucking goddamn buffoon going in there and like, oh shit, look at this. Beep. Fucking boom, it's over, you know what I mean? But the technology is so heavily used to maintain the border of the base. This includes surveillance cameras, motion detectors. Some of these motion detectors are placed some distance away from the base on public land to notify guards of people approaching. So they know when there's vehicles coming up through. They know this. They got their work cut out for them. I mean, when they said we're gonna raid Area 51, there was a comment on there that says their bullets can't stop us all. Yeah, they can. They're fucking bullets. You kidding me? Now I'm sure it was a joke, but Jesus, it's that type of thinking that'll turn this into something bad quick. And keep in mind, this is an air base. There is aerial activities taking place there. So all these sightings, and they say if you go there on a Thursday or something that you're going to see the most unbelievable things in the sky. And there's no doubt you probably are. It's an air base. Are they UFOs? I don't know. Now, is there aliens in there helping us build these new aircrafts? Probably. I mean, you think about it. When you sit there and you look at TVs and you look at cars and you look at airplanes and all that sort of thing. Like, TVs are pretty far-fetched for someone to just dream up. It's hard to fathom. And I'm not a scientist or an inventor or anything like that, but I try to look at it very simple. An airplane, to me, was inevitable. We look in the skies and we see birds, we see bugs flying. We knew it's possible to fly. It's happening in front of our faces. Now, would it be hard to come up with something that would fly an in the air like an airplane. If you study a bird and you study things that do fly, I don't think it'd be that hard, given you have the materials at the time. So obviously, vehicles came first, engines came first, all that came first. Now they claim, what is it, the Wright brothers, right? They discovered aviation. I don't know if I believe that. I think it was probably way, way sooner. Way sooner. But, who knows? But, so let's talk about the conspiracy theories that are kind of going on in Area 51. So, first one is storage, examination, and reverse engineering of crashed alien spacecrafts, including materials supposedly recovered at Roswell, the study of their occupants, and the manufacture of aircraft based on alien technology. 2. Meetings or joint undertakings with extraterrestrials. 3. The development of exotic energy weapons for the Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, or other weapon programs. 4. The development of weather control, HARP. Remember Jesse the Body? He went out there and did all that. Yeah. Okay, 5. The development of time travel and teleportation technology, LAZAR. Comes into mind on that one and the first one. Okay, 6. The development of exotic propulsion systems related to the Aurora program. 7. Activities related to a shadowy one world government or the Majestic 12 organization. Some of these are a little hard to believe. Unless you read comics. Unless you're a sci-fi person. It's hard to believe. But either way, conspiracies are real. They, as in they, the U.S. government, the Air Force, are taking this seriously. Laura McAndrews, who, she was a spokeswoman for the Air Force, said they knew. They confirmed, obviously, they knew about the raid. And she states, Area 51 is an open training range for the U.S. Air Force, and we would discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train. American Armed Forces. The U.S. Air Force always stands ready to protect America and its assets. Wow. That's a statement. Period. Saying we're going to fuck you up. Period. So think about it. I mean, really give us some thought. I'm sure we're going to see some people out there camping. I don't think we're going to see anybody raid Area 51. I don't think we're going to see that. But I think we're going to see some action. Another thing that's odd, if you look at the map, like the satellite image, at least the one I'm looking at, which was taken in the year 2000. I don't know if there's an updated one. I'm sure there is. And even if there is, I know this hasn't changed. It's right next to Groom Lake. It's right next to water, which is very, very odd. I mean, maybe for test purposes, but last time I checked, the Air Force was in the air. I don't know why you would pick this ground next to this lake. Unless it was a SFO, submergible flying object. Maybe there's some SFOs going on down there. Which there's been a lot of sightings of that recently as well. A lot of people claim that they've watched aircraft shoot out of the ocean. And just boom, right up in the sky. So it's incredible. It is incredible. It's a phenomenon that's going to be happening until they come out. Right? I mean, we know there's life out there. We know it. We absolutely know at the bottom of our hearts, we know something's going on. Let's hope we can figure this the hell out. So an interesting statement come up from Bob Lazar himself. And he states, I have to comment on this. storm Area 51 thing. I do understand it was started as a joke by someone, but there are a number of people who are actually planning on showing up. This is a misguided idea, Lazar posted. He posted this on his Instagram with a screenshot of the Facebook event. Again, we just spoke about Lazar, but in 1989 he was on a television interview, and he claimed to have worked on reverse engineering alien spacecraft technology at the site called S4, located south of the main Area 51. So now, S4 is where he claimed he worked with aliens and alien technology. This is south, like they just said, of Area 51. And he also goes on to state Area 51 is a classified research base. There are no aliens or alien technology located there. Lazar continued on Instagram. The only place there was ever any alien technology was at Site S4, south of Area 51 proper. That was 30 years ago, he states. S4 may have moved decades ago, or it's possible it's no longer being used for the project. He also goes on to state, I do not support this movement. And he added that the last time someone attempted to get into Area 51, he was shot. That's coming from the whistleblower himself, the man who worked reverse engineering on alien technology. I mean, then what's the problem? You know, like, what's the big deal then? We really got some big secrets going on in that base itself? Maybe. I mean, yeah, I understand it. The government doesn't want our enemies to know, especially civilians, because, you know, we can't keep our mouths shut, so obviously. Look at what's going on. It's interesting. It brings to mind, like, a few years back, I was just scouring the internet, you know what I mean, getting into that dark web and going down the rabbit hole, and I come across this very long article, and it was about a base. I'm not sure where, but the article was called "Is Be Will Be." Now, it was about a alien spacecraft that wrecked, and these were actual documents. It wasn't like an article written out by somebody else. Like, you had to read it off these documents that were typed, and you had to zoom in and read the story, you know. And I was reading it, and it stated that a UFO crashed, and they got two bodies out of it that looked like dolls, but was fleshy, you know. And it didn't speak. One was dead, and one wouldn't speak. And they were obviously coherent, like they knew these things were living. And they took them down into this base. Now, there was this lady that also worked in the base. Again, I'm not sure what she did there, so I'm not even going to attempt to say it. It's like we're talking years ago. I just remember the facts of it, as far as what this thing was and who it talked to. So she was walking by this room, and she started feeling odd, you know, and like she was hearing a voice in her head, and she didn't want to tell anybody. And after a few days or a few weeks went by, and it kept happening, you know, she went and she spoke to one of the officers that were on duty at the time, and she's like, listen, I've got this weird voice in my head. I know I sound crazy. And he immediately says, you know, what's this voice saying? And she explains to him what it's saying, you know, and that it wants to talk to her. So they take this woman into this room, and there sits this doll-looking being, and it's having a conversation with this woman telepathically. And the government is sitting there and they're saying, listen, ask the being this. So she would say, where are you from? And the being would say whatever galaxy it was from. And which was very close, was within our galaxy. And she gave him like exact coordinates. I'm assuming that this doll, this being, was a female. I'm for some reason that's the impression you got when you read this document. And gave him the coordinates, and apparently it exists. You know what I mean? And they asked other questions like, well, what are you doing here? And they said, listen, we've been protecting Earth for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, And she says, I can't explain to you because you could not fathom what I would tell you. You're not advanced enough to understand what I would tell you. Which blew their minds right away, right? Either the girl that's allegedly telepathically speaking to this alien or whatever you would like to call it is completely insane and making it up as she goes, or this shit's really happening, right? So she says to her, so is there a God? And in so many words, it was like a yes and a no. Basically, it was like the aliens, they were the gods, Like, and she said, well, what happens when we die and all this? And according to this being, or this woman that was interpreting it, said that she said, we do not die. That we live on. We're just energy. We're connected with everything. Death is primitive. It doesn't happen. And she claimed, now this is what blew my mind. She claimed that when our person, our body dies, our soul goes back to our home planet, which is where this is be will be is from. Now, it kind of shocked me because I was like, wow, that's crazy, because if you think of heaven and all that, then maybe that's true, maybe that's true, or maybe this lady's just a fucking kook, and she explained, is be will be. It's like you will always be. You will never die. Your soul will never die. You will always be. So when you're done here, you will go there. And that's really about what I remember of it. That really touched home with me. Because I was kind of in search for that answer. Is there life after death? And I come across this and I was like, holy cow, that's impressive. I've never found it since. So if anybody even listens to this and you've made it this far, and you've read that article, and you know where it is, and maybe I've said something wrong or my facts weren't quite right, comment, let me know, because I'd love to read that again. I thought that was incredible. But that's just another, and it might be just a random ass story, and if it was, oh my god. It was amazing. And I thought that was pretty crazy. It's pretty interesting. And it kind of brings me to my next topic. Life in general. Like everybody searches for their purpose and all that, and like, is there life after death, da-da-da-da-da, the Bible, biblical, all that stuff, which is, you can't touch on biblical things today, because you're considered a prick, just a fucking everything. Everybody is so touchy today that you can't talk about much. You have to wait for somebody else. You have to wait for a celebrity to do it first. And that's the truth. And if the celebrity gets shit for it, then you can't fucking talk about it, But I'm not like that. So I'm gonna say what the fuck I want. Period. And my personal belief is, yeah, there's more than likely a God out there. I believe that. I believe that. Now, I don't think it's what they describe in the Bible. I think that's easily put. I think that things did descend from the sky, and it has throughout our history. Always throughout our history. Giving us direction, and like Jesus was able to heal. I mean, if those are all true things that took place, it just points even more towards alien life. But the real question is what the hell are we doing here? You know what I mean? It's like, you got global warming happening and all this shit, and that's another thing. It's like this has happened before, obviously. I'm a firm believer that that's what killed the dinosaurs, is global warming. We call it global warming. Scientists call it global warming, or they don't believe it, whatever the fuck is going on now. It's the planet's recycling itself. Period. That's what's happening. It's getting recycled. Simple and plain. The polar ice caps are shifting towards the equator, slowly melting. Eventually, the world will fill up with water. New land will be made, be lost. That's just the way it is. It's all these lakes and stuff you see in the inlands. I mean, that's potentially how all this stuff was created, was made. We know this. Volcanoes erupted, land was formed, all that jazz. And I think that killed the dinosaurs, and I think that's what's happening now. That's what I believe. Now, we're next to all these planets, and we're the only planet with life. I think maybe throughout time we used these planets up. We lived on each planet and eventually was able to make it and used up all that resource, all just burnt that planet up, and that's what I believe. I mean, it's far-fetched, but you got to think, like, a lot of historical documents, a lot of stuff was lost, was burned, was destroyed, and it's almost the smart thing, because within each planet, think of it like this, within each planet we know what we know now. Like, oh, we're coming up, man, we're using up our planet's resource, it's going to die. We can't sustain life here any longer. And why is that? Is it because of the vehicles, of technology, and just humans in general? We're a plague, or what are we, And if that's the case, and we did have advanced technology enough to make it to a different planet, then why would we keep that technology if we knew that's what destroyed our planet? So our ancestors, what if they destroyed all that? Or hid it? It makes sense. Maybe we wouldn't have the means to build that, and eventually over time we found things. Oh wow, look at this is a new technology, and this is claimed to be from aliens, and maybe it was our own to begin with. That's just so hypothetical. It's just thoughts rumbling out of my mouth, but it's an interesting theory, and I'm sure there's a theory out there that somebody said this. I'm sure of it. Either way, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. It's intense. This whole topic's intense. Area 51's intense. It's all intense stuff. But whatever the case, the world will go on. Yes, it will. That's gonna be it. I'm Blucher. This is Broken Mind Podcast. If you listen to this far, thank you. Appreciate it. Hope I wasn't too whatever.